So our third speaker holds a BA in Social Sciences, major in Social Anthropology, and minor in Psychology from UP Baguio, and an MA in Sociology from UP Diliman. She is presently an assistant professor of Sociology from the Department of Anthropology, Sociology, and Psychology of UP Baguio. Her research interests include institutional and organizational studies, sociology of religion, and sociology of language. Folks, let us welcome Assistant Professor Grazielle Micklay talking about Arlie Hochschild and women and the second generation.
I was very much interested kay binasa ni Sir JP kanina, yung interest ko about language at saka sa religion. I was very much interested in religion, being an atheist, and very much interested in language because I grew up in a multilingual home, and I claim that I cannot speak our languages very well. So, marunong ako mag-Ilocano, mag-Kanaan, mag-English, mag-Filipino, pero feeling ko talaga I don't have a good grasp of those languages. So, very frustrating para sa akin. Tapos, how did I come across Arlie Hochschild, if I don't have any research on women, and how dare I stand before you, diba? Talking about something that I don't have research on. Alright, so, na-encounter ko si Arlie Hochschild when I was preparing for my Social 195 class. That's in my theory class, okay? So I started teaching this in 2020, and that was the only time that I read them. And this is a wonder for me kasi we had like 6 units of theory classes, pero hindi siya talaga nabanggit. Along with the other women, they weren't in our syllabi. So when I encountered a textbook, naghahanap ako ng mga reference materials for my theory class, sabi ko, this is one great textbook writer. Dalawa sila actually nagsulat. Sina Adam and Saidi. Tapos lagi kong nire-require sa Social 195 class ko. Kasi tinignan nila yung pwedeng expansion ng sociological canons. So for example, by the time that Max Weber and Emil Durkheim were writing, there was Harriet Martineau, who actually translated the work of Auguste Comte. And because of her translations and popularization of Auguste Comte, napunta ang sociology sa Amerika. Diba? That's a very great contribution to sociology. Tapos, meron din siyang mga theories and methodologies about how to conduct sociological work, etc. na hindi talaga na-acknowledge masyado. Tapos, apart from Harriet Martineau, there's also the one who's writing about parang the literary side of sociology. So, wala talaga siyang sociological practice, pero yung contribution niya sa stories on like the importance of looking at stories in looking at society. Si Gilman. What was her name again? Charlotte Perkins Gilman. So if you have read the story about the yellow wallpaper, so parang kwento na yun kung paano how she felt trapped in a yellow room kasi yun yung room niya in her house. Tapos women during that time, syempre, weren't allowed to go to school. They cannot have an education, pero she can write pretty well because she came from a middle class family. So mayaman yung family niya, na-educate siya informally. Tapos ang galing niyang magsulat, okay? Pero she knows that she can do a lot of things, pero hindi siya binigyan ng opportunities to do so. And then we come to Arlie Hochschild. So bakit ko ba siya napili? Hindi si Harriet Martineau at hindi si Charlotte Perkins Gilman. Kasi when I was reading Hochschild, she was talking about something that I do in my everyday life. And something that I'm forced to do. And it's necessary for everyday life. Kasi sabi ko, this is a very good thing to start on. And it's also one of my frustrations that the kind of sociology that I was practicing is not the kind of sociology that I admire, which is emancipatory. And a lot of her work is actually very much emancipatory. So katulad din next slide please, hindi siya makita, sorry. Pero katulad din ni Martha Nussbaum, she also focused on feelings and emotions. So, kung si Nussbaum ay philosopher of emotion, ito naman sociologist of emotions. Okay. Hindi siya masyadong makita kasi gusto ko ng violet. Pero anyway, sino ba siya? Okay, so si Arlie Hochschild was born in 1940, so she's still alive, she's 83 years old. She's currently a professor emeritus at the University of California, Berkeley. She completed her PhD in sociology sa UC Berkeley in 1969 and MA in 1965. And during those times, during the 1960s, walang mga babaeng professors daw in UC Berkeley. So there was this one lecturer, pero 1/5 of the population of UC Berkeley, at least in the sociology division, ay gustong maging professor. So meron naman silang mga kababaihan doon. So she was inspired to do emotion work and research on women kasi nagkaroon sila, nakapo sila ng parang focus. So they tried imagining sa cohorts niya sa UC Berkeley. What would sociology look like if it considered the perspectives and the experiences of women? So yun, so her work on women, emotions, and impression management, mamaya i-discuss natin kung ano yun. Sana may time pa, is influenced by the Women's Caucus in Berkeley. So yung caucus na ginawa nila, nag-transfer siya sa iba't ibang mga universities. So hindi lang siya nangyari sa UC Berkeley. So other universities were also inspired by the caucus that they formed. Okay, the collective consciousness of the second wave feminism movement and Irving Goffman. So si Irving Goffman, kasi meron din, nagtuturo din ako ng self and society. So I asked my students, alam ba nila yung backstage self at front stage self? Kilala niyo siya, di ba? So she's one of the, he is also a very prolific writer. Okay, so, tapos pag binabanggit mo ang symbolic interactionism, it's Irving Goffman that always gets mentioned. Parang yung si Arlie Hochschild, hindi lahat kasi ng textbooks kino-consider yung kanyang pangalan. Next, please. Ayan, so sabi ko, prolific researcher, author, teacher din siya kasi parang sinuslot ang dami-dami ng mga sinulat. So her CV was actually 33 pages long. Pero, sabi ko, pipili na lang ako ng mga works niya na related doon sa talk natin about women. Okay, so she did a research on flight attendants and bill collectors who perform emotional labor. That's one of the main topics of my talk. So ang kanyang libro ay The Managed Heart. So yung instruction nga namin, ano yung mga una mong babasahin kung if you're going to introduce yourself to Arlie Hochschild? Hindi ako makapili. Pero what I finished, kasi sabi ko nga this is just my first journey into this kind of research, the second shift. Okay, so ito yung isa sa mga topics ng talk ko. Working parents struggling to divide housework and childcare. So nag-guess nyo na kung ano yung sinasabi ko kanina. Something that you do every day. Alright? It's housework. And then, finalo up niyan, dun sa work niya, the time bind, the corporate employees dealing with a culture of workaholism. So related kasi silang lahat because the second shift is happening and the third shift is happening because of the structure of work that we have. Okay, and ito, maybe something that's interesting for you who are doing work on immigration, OFWs. So meron siyang research on Filipina nannies who left their children behind to care for those of American families. So very prolific din siya. Hindi ko na siguro mati-discuss to. Medyo wala tayong oras. Pero gusto ko lang i-emphasize kung saan siya nanggagaling. So she's a symbolic interactionist. Basically, ang ibig sabihin lang doon is that human beings are meaning-making beings. Alright? We do not act out of instinct. Okay? We act out of what things, events, people, roles mean to us. Alright? So, yun. Tapos, we are unique in our ability to use symbols. Ibig sabihin, we assign meaning to a lot of things. Okay? And meron tayong parang consideration of what is more secret to us from them. Okay? And then, ang isa siguro sa gusto kong i-emphasize dito is the recognition of symbolic interactionism in the human being's ability to be reflexive. Okay, kasi before symbolic interactionism, napakaraming mga sociologists, macro-sociological yung kanilang approach and they focus on the structure. Okay, so like for example, si Emil Durkheim, parang society is impinging on the individual. So, ito yung rules ng society, tapos parang meron ka, you are compelled to follow these rules. Pero, hindi nila na-explain. So, how does change occur? Okay? Where does variation come from? Alright, tapos ang isa sa mga explanations nun is self-reflexivity. Alright, the capability of human beings to reflect on their actions. So you always have an image of yourself in your mind. Okay, yung pinaka-basic na explanation ng reflexivity. And you can trace back all your actions throughout the day. Diba? Habang natutulog ka, naiisip mo, ano ba naman yung ginawa ko kanina? Diba? Ganito yung mga naging reaction ng mga tao sa akin. Parang mali yata yun. Okay, so those kinds of reflections, we are capable of. Tapos, the next one, last na to. Emotions are central to meaning and behavior. So, isa yan din sa ni-develop ni Irving Goffman, pero in-expand kasi siya ni Arlie Hochschild. Next slide. Siguro para i-simplify natin siya. So, si Irving Goffman, he talked about deception in emotions. So parang my front stage self composed of me and my teammates performing to an audience. So parang ako, di ba, I'm a teacher, tapos meron akong certain kinds of emotions na napapalabas ko lang because I am performing in front of you. So I'm not really a perky, jokey individual, parang ganun. Pero because I'm performing in front of you, that's the kind of emotions that I will project. But I'm just pretending to be one. Alright, tapos dun sa backstage self ko naman, nandun yung aking mga teammates. Kasama ko mga teachers, di ba? Tapos we're all performing, we're all parang coordinating with each other to present an image of what a teacher is. Okay? Pero pretensions lahat ng yun. Tapos nang-influence din siya ni Sigmund Freud na nagsabi na human beings are capable of emotions and managing their emotions. Alright? Tapos parang nagkaroon ng healthy mixture of or conversation between Freud and Irving Goffman dun sa kanyang work. Okay? Yeah, so mostly sa sociology of emotion siya nakafocus. And how institutions control, how we personally control feeling. Okay? So, before kasi ng mga work ng mga symbolic interactionists, the prevailing idea was that emotions are biological. Parang it's a reaction, instinctive reaction to something. Tapos dun sa series of works nila, they argued otherwise. So according to Arlie Hochschild, meron tayong mga rules on emotions, and a lot of these rules are, of course, social and cultural. Next slide, sir. Ayun, so isa sa mga work na itong the managed heart, so kung natatandaan yung sinabi ko kanina, ano ba yung content ng managed heart? So tinignan niya ano yung mga klase ng mga trabaho which impose feeling rules on their employers. Tapos, parang meron siyang nakita or tinignan na two sides of the coin. So, yung mga flight attendants, di ba, na dapat very accommodating ka, tapos very positive yung mga emotions mo. Tapos, yung mga bill collectors na dapat intimidating ka, so whatever situation comes in, dapat maningil ka talaga ng utang, di ba? Okay, so yun yung tinignan niyang dalawa. Tapos, napaka-ethnographic ng kanyang method. So, she followed these people around. Okay. Yeah. They allowed her. Parang meron naman siyang consent. So, pumunta siya sa, parang sinundan niya sa mga bahay. sa work nila, ganun. So, how do they deal with people when they're collecting, tapos serve yung mga flight attendants, etc. Okay, tapos nakita niya na even the companies, talagang kasama sa training nila, yung pag-manage ng mga taong to sa kanilang emotions. So, it's part of the training. Okay, that no matter what a customer throws to you. So, kunwari nagmamakaawa siya, hindi ako makabayad ng bill kasi ganito yung sitwasyon ng pamilya ko. Hindi, kailangan mong i-display yung emotion that your job requires. Right? And that is also true with flight attendants. So, kahit na minumura ka na ng pasahero mo, di ba, you have to be gracious all the time. Okay. Alright. Tapos ano naman daw ang kinalaman nito sa mga kababaihan? So, this emotional labor that is being performed by flight attendants and bill collectors and people who are working in general, okay, so all kinds of work naman have their own feeling rules, are performed by women even after their work. Okay? So, ang tawag doon ay shadow labor. Ito yung sinasabi din ni Ma'am Olive kanina na parang we are compelled to be nice. Right? We are taught as little kids, diba, to be nice. So, being becomes a way of doing, acting is the needed art, and emotion work is the tool. So, we are being taught as women how to manage our emotions to be able to get what we want. Because it's not going to be given to us as readily, especially when it comes to housework. Okay, next slide, sir. Siguro next slide. Next pa po. Ayan. Okay, so what happens within the home? Sabi ni Arlie Hochschild, and siguro before I go to that, what she did in her research was, in the book, parang naghanap siya ng mga Fortune 500 companies. Tapos sa Fortune 500 companies na yon, parang methodical. Every 13th name, in-interview niya, sinundan niya, in-observe niya sa mga bahay nila, what they do during work, what they do after work. Okay, so ilang years din yun ng kanyang research. Tapos what she learned was that women perform a second shift. Okay, but this remains unacknowledged by their husbands. Kasi hindi nga expected para sa mga lalaki ang mag-show ng emotion work, which is being nurturing, being caring outside of the first shift. So the first shift is your job. Second shift is when you go home. And women feel like they are in their second shift kasi they are still performing a work of emotional labor in caring for, nurturing, and being accommodating to their children and to their husbands afterwards. So, parang nagkakaroon ngayon ng repression ng sarili nilang mga emotions to be able to cater to the emotional demands of their families. And this kind of burden is not impugned upon men as much as it is with women. Okay, kaya parang nagkakaroon daw ng economy of gratitude. The interplay between gender ideologies determines what will seem like a gift and what will not. So, ano nangyayari dito? Kasi nagbabago na yung mundo, di ba? Nagta-transition na sila. This was created during the 1970s, 1980s, kung saan marami ng mga kababaihan ang nagtatrabaho. Alright, so our road to mga feminist movements, they are progressing. Tapos women are are fighting for and getting their rights at a very rapid pace. However, kahit na sila ay nagtatransform, nagpo-progress, yung economy at saka yung mga kalalakihan are not progressing in the same pace as they are. Alright, so what do women do to be able to deal with that? Okay, parang may mismatch ngayon ng gender ideologies. Right, there are new ideas for the women. So, di ba, parang ina-encourage natin yung mga kababaihan na work outside of the home, di ba? Okay, do something for yourself outside of the home. Pero, pag-uwi naman nila sa kanilang first shift, yung traditional na ideas of being a woman is being imposed on them. Alright? Tapos, how do they deal with that inside of the home? So kapag yung mga kababaihan na in-interview niya, parang they appreciate even the most tokenistic contribution of men in the household. So parang they tell themselves, parang they control their emotions or their frustrations and anger about their second shift and towards their husbands by trying to control their own emotions by telling themselves stories. So parang, maswerte pa nga ako kasi yung asawa ko at least naglilinis ng yard. At least kinalaro niya yung mga anak namin. At least naghugas siya ng mga pinggan. Diba? Tapos, yun. So that's how they manage and control their emotions. Ngayon, ano naman kaya yung third shift? Okay, next slide, sir. Second pa lang tayo, di ba? Okay. Ano naman ang third shift? So before we discuss what the third shift is, tinignan niya ni Arlie Hochschild, ano kaya yung mga companies na merong mas progressive na structure ng economy. So meron siyang nahanap na isang Fortune 500 company. Tapos ito daw yung mga ino-offer ng company na yon for their employers to be able to manage their work at home, balance their work-life balance. Merong flex time, job sharing, this is just one company, and parental leave, and run an excellent daycare center for employees' children. So, she found out that these are parang the happiest employers, the ones who had to deal less with the second shift or tensions in the second shift. Kasi ganito nga yung structure sa kanilang workplace. However, kung titingnan niyo, hindi naman kasi yan hindi yan profitable para sa mga companies, di ba? So what is profitable for them actually is flex time. So, hindi mo babawasan yung working hours ng mga employees mo, pinahahaba mo lang sila. So, for example, hindi kailangan 8 to 5 yung job, pero nagtatrabaho sila hanggang midnight. Okay, para meron silang space to take care of their children. So, a lot of the companies ay hindi sila open sa ibang mga arrangements na ito. Right. So, ano ngayon yung third shift? Kasi nga, women are progressing, parang yung their ideas about who they can become and what they can achieve ay nagbago na. Okay, pero in the home, hindi ganun yung kanilang experience. Alright, so what do? They turn to the third shift. So parang ito daw yung kanilang effort to seek support mechanisms at work. So parang dahil nagkakaroon na, di ba magtatrabaho ka ng 8 to 6, kaya magre-ready ka. So nagiging 7 to 6 na siya. Alright, so much of your time is actually spent inside your workplace. Tapos, yung time mo naman for your children, parang nagdi-decrease siya. So it's a crunch time. So, ang isa actually sa mga parameters niya dun sa kanyang mga in-interview to write the second shift. These are dual working or dual earning couples na mayroong anak 6 years and below. So talagang they require and demand a lot of attention, di ba? Okay. Tapos, because of their pressures during the second shift, they turn to their workmates, seek support mechanism with their workmates. Okay, and then she found out that more women than men, significantly more women than men, seek this support mechanism at work. So, parang nagkakaroon ngayon, according to Arlie Hochschild, ng commodification of home life. The dilemma of being a good parent and buying a commodified version of parenthood from someone else. Kasi you only have a few hours to spend with your children. So what do you do? Diba? So ano ba yung gagawin mo para magpakita mo that you are a good parent? So a lot of them, syempre, parang yung mamamasyal ka sa park, bibilan mo sila ng mga ganito, mga ganyan. No? So that's the commodified version of being a good parent. And this dilemma is more impugned on, experienced by women than men. Bakit? Kasi there is an expectation that women perform the more nurturing and caring role. Alright? And siguro, para to end this, siguro, take into consideration natin na these interviews were done during the 70s and the 80s. So, ang isa sa mga development sa kanyang books, parang meron na talagang changes in how men and women, married couples, on how married couples share their housework. So siguro ang isa sa mga challenge natin is, tignan natin kung if this is something that also applies to the Philippines. Next. Yun. So, sino ba yung mga na-mention ko in the presentation? Gusto ko lang ibida. Yung isa sa kanyang work, ito. This is a book that I began reading. Ito, Strangers in Their Own Land, Anger and Mourning in the American Right. So, isa kasi ito sa kanyang work about how ideological bubbles form. Alright? Where did the liberal bubble form and the right-wing bubble form, and how are we able to bridge those two bubbles? Okay, so napakaganda ng kanyang ethnography, napakaganda ng kanyang mga recommendations on how we're able to bridge the extreme left and the extreme right. And this is done in the backdrop of the looming Trump presidency. Ayan. Thank you so much.